2. I apologize. I was speaking for about 20 minutes earlier and nothing happened. So, hello, let's take 2. Thank you for joining me live. I am so sorry about the technical difficulties before. Hopefully people can see me now. Please give me a thumbs up and maybe pop into the comments if you can hear me as well as seeing me before I start talking, because I was talking for a good 20 minutes earlier. I was really getting into the feel of it and the groove, and apparently nobody could hear me because I wasn't reading the comments and everything was showing as fine on my end. So if you want to take a minute to let me know you can hear me, and I might just quickly check my messages because people were messaging me before. So give me a minute. Just let me know if it is working. How annoying. I put my all my lovely contact details and links in the description, and I think Facebook doesn't like that, so that might have been why you couldn't hear me earlier. It thought that I was trying to sell something apparently, which I am not. So I'm just waiting to make sure that everybody can hear and see me. Please let me know. Hello and welcome. Put a comment below so I know. I don't think I can see the react features. Oh, someone did a thumbs up, so thank you. That's a yes that you can hear me, I think. It's weird, I don't see them pop up on my screen. So if you're watching this live and you do the reactions and they pop up on your screen, they actually don't pop up on mine, but that's okay. I'm sorry, there's a bug flying around in here. Alrighty, I think everyone can hear me. Let me just move that. Apologies for before. I actually have to apparently click. There we go. Thank you. I'm so glad you can see and hear me. Excellent. Let's get started. Yes, it's important that you can see me and hear me because, funnily enough, that is what my masterclass is all about. So, I apologize for the lateness. I was actually on another live in this group that nobody could hear me, so I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. It is because I put my links in the description, and apparently that is a no. So, let's get started. Give me a moment. I'm going to have a nice drink of water with my Amazonite drink bottle. Really good for throat chakra. Great for what we're going to be talking about today. So, I was in an amazing groove talking before. So now I'm just going to have to start over again, but that's okay. Thank you and welcome. I am Belinda Cabban, and you are joining my masterclass. Thank you so much for being here live or on the replay. Put hashtag replay if you are joining on the replay. My masterclass, and thank you for joining, is all about letting your authentic self be seen and heard. And you will have had a taste of what that story is like for me, or has been like for me, if you've read my Phoenix Rising chapter, Crowned in Darkness. Just as an FYI, I'm not going to keep scrolling down to the comments because it does kind of get a little bit distracting, but it looks like we are thumbs up for technology. So let's get going. As I said, my name is Belinda. It's always nice to have a little bit of an introduction. So if you want to tell me where you're from, where you're watching from, I am broadcasting live across the globe from Newcastle, New South Wales, which, if you're not from Australia, it is on the east coast, about 2 hours drive north of Sydney. For myself, I am a spiritual mentor. I'm a modern mystic and an awakener of soulful women. I'm a best-selling author, thanks to Phoenix Rising. I'm also an alchemist witch. I do make physical products that support your well-being infused with Reiki and crystals. And as a witch, my favorite spell is you awakening to your empowered, intuitively inspired life. Yes, that's what I like to say anyway. So our topic today is letting your authentic self be seen and heard. And I want to break that down into 2 components. So I want to first look at, what does it mean to be seen and heard, especially in your own life? Because I'm sure you're saying, well, Belinda, I live my life. People see me, people hear me. You're being crazy. Well, it's actually a little bit deeper than that. So that's why I'm going to break that down and have a look at that first. And I'm so glad that people can see and hear me now. So thanks, universe. It's just another reminder, because it is a healing journey for me as well. That writing my chapter was a massive healing process where I sat down in April of this year. I wrote my chapter. I wrote I think over 4,000 words, which was much more than we required. And then I closed the Word document and I put it aside, and I could not bear to look at it for months and months. And I have my own coach. I have my own spiritual coach as well, and I've been working with her for quite a while now, probably about 2 years, working through these things. And we were working through my chapter because it was bringing up so much things to the surface that the things in my chapter I had not told anybody. Perhaps 2 people in the actual world knew of the things that I had experienced and the way that I felt and the events that transpired in my life. So for me, writing that chapter was bringing it to the forefront. I suppose that's why journaling is really important, because it brings our thoughts and feelings from being in our head and our heart, and it helps manifest them and bring them into the reality, so we can not necessarily to bring those things back and manifest them. Sorry, that's probably the wrong words. It was more that it's bringing it to the forefront. It's making it real for us to realize that these are the things that we perhaps need to work on and to heal through and to process, because when we do go through our events, experiences and relationships and connections, we live our lives, sometimes we dismiss things and we just think, well, that's just something that happened. It's nothing important. It doesn't affect us. So in this looking at being seen and heard, for me, I always thought that's just the way my life was. I thought my life, looking back, before I wrote this chapter, I thought things happened to me because I was a bad person. I thought because I called in these shitty circumstances, because I've always been kind of, ever since my late teens, I've been witchy, I've been spiritual, I understood energetics, so obviously everything's always a learning process, so we're always learning more, which I love. But even back then, I knew that what you put out is what you bring in. So I thought that I was a shitty person. I was a bad person. I had done the wrong thing and continued to do wrong things. So therefore, that's why I was bringing in these friends that suddenly somehow turned on me and hated me in high school and rejected me. I brought in relationships that were toxic and ugly and heartbreaking. I brought in traumatic experiences where I was voiceless. I was seen, but I was not heard. And hindsight is that wonderful thing when we look back and we judge ourselves. And part of my healing and part of what I teach is that it's not so much about forgiveness, it's about healing those parts of ourselves, to go, well, Belinda at age 3 or 4 went through this. Belinda at this age, and those parts of me are part of who I still am. They are who I shape and define me, but they're also still parts of a thread of a story within me now. And writing my chapter was the realization that because I was living this life where, from a young child, from a young age, and I don't remember what age, but I was something that was sort of regularly said, where good children are seen and not heard. And I'm sure that that's a familiar kind of mantra that parents of my parents' generation said, and their parents probably said it, and their parents said it too. And I'm sure parents these days say it as well. Not being a parent myself, I don't know that, but I think that people are much more aware these days and self-aware to not project these things, because the things we say have so much power. So as a young child, when I was told to be seen and not heard, without knowing it, because as children we are sponges, we just soak everything in around us. We look up to our parents, we look up to adults and think that there's a bug in here, know everything. So we just soak it in, and we don't know, we don't have the wisdom, and we don't have the self-awareness at such a very young age to know that we're just listening and we're just soaking everything in. And for myself, I took that thread and I began to weave it unknowingly throughout my life, because that's what I thought was true. I thought that if you were good, and I thought good girls or good children were seen and they weren't heard, they didn't cause a fuss, they didn't rock the boat, they didn't speak up, they didn't cause arguments. And in my family dynamic, if you used your voice and spoke up, and it became a conflict, because my thoughts and it's still today, but even as a child, I felt so different, and I'm sure that you resonate as well. Anyone who is spiritual or just even sort of that awareness, we know that we're very sensitive, we're very emotional, we might have psychic abilities as well, but for me it was very emotional. I felt everything so deeply, and I felt everything so differently to everybody else around me, that I was this softness, and everything broke my heart. And it wasn't about growing a harder shell, it was learning that this world is different, and I'm here to make a change. If you are like me, then you are here to make a change. And it's so important for us to be seen and heard, to be your truest authentic self, that we make a difference, because we are the exception to the rule. The rule is that everybody else is the same as the world around them. The things we see in the media, everyone has, there's hardness and there's a shallowness, but people like us are different. We have depth, and we feel like we don't fit in because we're not meant to fit in. But that's another topic, that's another story. We're not going to talk about how we do or don't fit in. We talk about being seen and heard. And I guess if you haven't read my story yet, I certainly encourage you to read my chapter and every other author's chapter in this beautiful book, because it is such a transformative healing process. And it exactly as the title says, it's Phoenix Rising, that no matter what you've been through, no matter what has burnt you down to the core, you as the Phoenix have that opportunity to rise again and be reborn. You can make that choice over and over again to heal and transform and rise from the ashes of your life, to be reignited, to be empowered. But on a little bit of a tangent, sorry. As an intuitive, I do get sort of intuitive hits that tend to derail my conversation sometimes, but I'm told that it's important for you guys to hear this, so that's why it seems like I go off topic a little bit. So coming back to being seen and heard, for me, I just want to give my little example. So yes, I was told to be seen and heard, and what I was saying in my live previously, that nobody saw, nobody heard, ironically enough, was a story that I have never told. It's a story that is not in my chapter. It is just something that from a young age, it's kind of nice to give another example. And yes, you might say, Belinda, why would you tell this story? Because it's really embarrassing. Well, actually, it's not embarrassing for me to tell. It's a little bit awkward, but it's not embarrassing. It's embarrassing for my mum to tell. My mum likes telling this story because she likes the end part of it, where she pushes the chair under the table and walks away and kind of has a laugh that somebody else has to clean it up. But let's start the story from the beginning. It is really short, but it's a nice little being seen and not heard example. So give me a moment. I'm going to have a nice drink. If you haven't already, check out my beautiful Phoenix earrings. These are from Binkaboo Studios, so look them up on Facebook and Instagram. Let's get a little bit closer. How beautiful are they? Gorgeous. Water is really, really good, and Amazonite, great for throat chakra, great for expressing ourselves being heard. So this story, I would be about 3 or 4. I was out at an event with my mum, my aunt, and my grandma, and I kind of remember them being there. I don't remember what we did. I just remember being little and sitting at a table in one of those kind of L-shaped plastic chairs. And I don't remember this part, but my mum tells the story that I asked if I could go to the toilet, to the bathroom. Not because I wanted to leave the event, but because I really needed to go. So I was expressing myself, telling my parent that I needed to go to the bathroom. My mum, I guess, dismissed me. The story that she tells is, look, we're almost at the end, just wait a little bit longer. Bug. But I couldn't. And I don't remember anything else, but I wet myself. And my mum says that the chair was so full of wee that she pushed it under the table, had a little bit of a giggle that somebody else could clean it up. Belinda couldn't wait to hold on to go to the toilet. She couldn't hold on and hold her little tiny platter. So yeah, it's this story that my mum likes to tell jokingly, which is kind of hurtful that she does, but the joke that she tells is that she had a mess that somebody else had to clean up, which was my mess. I don't remember getting into trouble for that. I just remember that whole feeling of, well, the story that she retells that I don't remember exactly is that I was seen, but nobody wanted to listen. I needed to do a bodily function, And as a young child, I was ignored. So that kind of weaves into our stories, these things where we think nothing of them, especially as a young child. So I have no memory of this really particular event. I only know because my mom retells the story. That thread gets interwoven into our lives, and we start telling that story to ourselves. We start spinning these. It's essentially a lie. The lie that I was telling myself was that I wasn't worthy of speaking up. I could be seen, but if I let myself be heard, I'm going to cause trouble. I'm going to rock the boat. I'm going to cause conflict, and nobody wants to hear that. Interwoven with another story that was told to me that I integrated to become my own story, and I'm sure that you have stories like this as well. And this is part of the work that I do, that we dig into these stories that we tell ourselves and we go, well, hang on, is that really true? And that's the work I do with my own coach as well, that we dig into my stories. No matter where they started, no matter where their root is, it's still present in our lives today, because chances are it's a story that we're retelling. And I'm about to burp, because so it feels like that is exactly true. When I do my Reiki and my tarot reading sessions, I get this like lump in my throat that I need to burp, and that's my connection that there's throat chakra work that needs to be done. So I have the beautiful audience, and I'm having this connection with you. So thank you for that. We'll do also actually have a quick look at doing a mini throat chakra meditation. But let me finish this little thread of how we integrate those stories throughout our lives. That it could be the smallest thing that we're told. We don't even think back on it. It just becomes so integrated into ourselves that we unconsciously start living that. We start putting that out into our lives because it's a story we tell ourselves. I have no value. I have no worth. I'm not good enough. I don't want to be here. I don't want to live. And those are stories that I have told myself as well. So therefore, the experiences and relationships and situations that we call into our lives, sometimes, yes, they're unavoidable because they have to happen to us. That is like our fate and our path. But a lot of the times it's because we've energetically didn't think that we were good enough. So therefore we put ourselves in situations that confirmed that. Friends that rejected me, relationships, employment situations that just continued to be in this cycle where I was just getting fired from job after job after job. And it was really soul crushing, to being a very sensitive, emotional teenager that was told, don't tell people how you feel because they don't care. Let me just let that sink into you for a minute. As an emotional, sensitive teenager, which wasn't really aware that I had any intuitive psychic gifts, I just knew that I was very emotional. I felt things differently and deeply. And I'm sure that you do too. So what I was told was, don't tell anyone how you feel because they don't care. It's a pretty shitty thing to tell a teenager, actually. It's a pretty shitty thing to tell anybody. But I'm not going to hold my parents to hostage over something that they had said to me, because that is their wounds and their generational trauma that they are carrying through, because their parents probably told them that too. But it's a story that I integrated. And I stopped telling people how I feel because they didn't understand. Because when I did speak out and when I told people, people just thought I was weird, to put it really slightly and simply. One boyfriend, I told that this depth of my emotion, not necessarily for him, but for the world around me, the way that I interacted and felt everything so deeply as an empath, he told me that I should be locked up in a mental institution. Again, really, really shitty things. But I didn't value myself because of those threads, because of those things I integrated. So yes, I was being seen, and the words that I was saying could be heard. But what I really wanted, sorry, there's a bug. Ugh. Sorry. What I really wanted to be heard and express myself as my absolute truest self was dismissed, because I didn't think that I was good enough for that. So that is part of what I teach. And it's really hard in a masterclass like this to teach this, but the part about being seen and heard, I think the small steps are being aware of when you're dismissing your own needs, being aware of when you're dismissing your worth, when you're squashing yourself down, when you're dimming your lights. The only person that misses out when you do those things is you. You miss out on showing your brilliance, showing up in your own life, creating and manifesting everything that you ever wanted. Because I went through situations that were shitty and traumatic, and they still to this day break my heart. But I don't cry when I tell my story anymore. And that to me is a beautiful sign of healing, because when I wrote my chapter, I couldn't read it. I couldn't bear to go back and read my story because it was so tragic and ugly. And I was like, who is this pathetic person that let themselves be treated with disrespect and almost violence? Because it was awful. Who was this person? And I couldn't stand it. I felt sorry for myself. I was disgusted with who I was. And yeah, I get sad about that because I can hear myself getting choked up, because that's what makes me angry, that I let myself be treated that way. Because that's the story that I told myself, because I hated myself. I didn't want to be here as a teenager because of the conflict that I was experiencing in my family. I tried to kill myself. And then as a young, well, not even a young adult, it was only in my early 30s, so not that long ago for me, I did, again, want to end my life because I didn't want to be here, because of everything that had just weighed down on my shoulders, that I was continuing to drag around because I felt my life was so helpless. I was drowning in debt. I had no relationships. I had a terrible relationship with my parents. My parents were, at one point, almost terminally ill, both of them, simultaneously. I was in situations where I just felt helpless and voiceless. I had no friends, no supportive circle that I could reach out to, because I'd drawn in everything that I had ever wanted. So yes, I created the life that I not dreamed of, but the life that I had said that I was worthy of. And this is where I get choked up about it, because I know that I'm more than that. And I know you are more than that. You are more than these experiences that you've gone through, and this story and these lies that you tell yourself. So the first step to healing that is having that awareness. That awareness that you are dismissing yourself, that you're making yourself smaller, that you're putting yourself into situations that make you feel uncomfortable, but everybody else is okay around you, purely because you've dimmed your light, you've squashed yourself down and become almost a chameleon. And that's what I did. I changed myself to fit into situations, to bend over backwards, to make other people feel comfortable. And that's not the life that you want to live. To make yourself smaller, and yes, it's going to cause conflict, but that's part of conflict. Isn't part of healing. Sorry, what I want to say is it's part of a journey to understand that conflict. It's not your place to sit there and go, okay, well, I'm wrong and you're right, and let's dissect that. Sometimes it is. Sometimes that's really good. It's a lesson. But sometimes it's look, I'm actually shutting myself down and shutting myself off to avoid a confrontation, to avoid a clash with someone, because they don't understand me, they don't believe me, they don't have the same beliefs as me. And you know what? The whole world we're made up of so many different people that have different opinions and beliefs. So there's always going to be some kind of clash with somebody. And being seen and heard, and allowing yourself to be seen and heard, isn't about letting that authentic self, letting your truest self be there and stomp on other people, because that is certainly not what it is about. It is about making sure that you're actually living your life. You're not, and this is when I read my chapter, I read back through and I knew that I was like letting somebody else steer and take control of where I was driving in my life. I was just like, yep, I'm in the passenger seat, and I might have some choices about whether we're turning left or right here, or slowing down or speeding up. But for the majority, I didn't have control, because I didn't want control. Because let's face it, for all those years, I didn't think that I should have control. Like, who am I to do this? Who am I to stand up and accept that I have this amazing life that I should be living and I deserve to live? And I think these things are, if you take something small away from this chapter and from this class, grab a pen and paper and write down that you are worthy. It is safe for you to be seen and heard. And I know that I was doing so much journaling with my wonderful coach about this. It is safe for me to be seen. It is safe for me to be heard. Little affirmations like that, put them on post-it notes. Actually, I have a post-it note off screen here that I have at the moment for one that I'm working on. But I think the first part is not only that awareness, but knowing that it is safe for you to be seen and heard, because the stories, and yes, they are lies, so I'm going to call them lies. The lies that you've been telling yourself for decades, they're going to take, it's not overnight that you're going to heal. It's going to be a process. But the first part is being aware that you're still telling yourself those stories. And yes, we're human, so of course we're going to have moments where we slip up and go, you know what, I'm so full of shit. Like, who am I to talk about this? I had this before. I even did this masterclass for weeks leading up to it. I wasn't going to do this. I was just going to be like, no, I'm not going to talk about it. Like, who am I? What authority do I have? What power do I have to share this? Like, who even wants to know this? Like, who am I? I am just Belinda. I'm nobody. So I still have these thoughts. Part of that step of being aware of it is catching it and going, well, hang on. Is that really true? Like, I have authority because I have experience. I've lived my story. My story was shit and traumatic, but I made the choice once I hit rock bottom to change. I didn't want any more of this in my life. And yes, they still have, not so good experiences sometimes, but I made a choice to consciously change my story. I wanted to be seen and heard. And suddenly when I made that choice, and I think I even made that choice before the offer of this book came out. So one of the things that changed and the opportunity that arose from my conscious decision to change was the opportunity to share my story. And if that isn't a huge going, hey, the whole world is going to read your story, that is scary as fuck. Excuse my French, but scary as fuck to share something that you had only shared with one or two people in my life. And some of those things I hadn't ever shared before, the story that I shared earlier with you, that is scary as fuck sometimes, but it is so important, because when I felt alone in my story, because I wasn't seen, because I wasn't being heard, I didn't have those connections. I didn't feel supported. I didn't feel loved in the way that I needed to, and because I wasn't expressing that, because I wasn't letting my authentic self, my absolutely truest heartfelt self, be seen, the people around me, it wasn't necessarily always their fault, because I wasn't telling them or showing them or expressing what I needed from them. Because if you don't tell people, then you can't expect them to know. So I needed to be supported, and the way that I grew up in a very unsupportive environment was not what I wanted and not what I needed. But obviously as a child and a teenager, we don't necessarily have the tools and the information how to say, hey, I want you to show up and be supportive of me. I need to be loved in this way. I need you to hug me. I need you to tell me you love me. We don't have those tools, but we have those tools as an adult now. And we can hug our little inner selves and tell them that we are worthy, and it is safe for you to be seen. It is safe for you to be heard. It is safe for you to shine, to step up into your brilliance. And that is absolutely my passion. If you haven't already figured that out, that is my passion, to empower the women that I work with, to awaken the knowledge, the wisdom that they have within them. That's why I call myself an awakener, because you already know all of this. Everything that I'm telling you, I have a feeling that you're saying, yes, I understand this. We haven't lived the same experiences, but yes, this has happened, or yes, this is true for me. That's what I do. I am an awakener. I awaken those parts of you that have been asleep or dormant your whole life, for you to express and be your authentic self. So let's take a quick moment and let's do, actually I might just quickly, because I've got some notes off to the side here that I'm referring to, I might just quickly talk about some things that, the way that you can work with me is that I offer so many services. For things on a really simple level, you can connect with me through my monthly newsletter, and you can get an online a monthly collective reading. We can work together through Reiki, which is energetic healing. I do tarot reading sessions, and I love incorporating those into my spiritual mentoring. They're actually part of the package, that we use those divination tools to look at, okay, what are the things that you're not acknowledging in your life? And that's not a judgment, we're just unaware sometimes. Let's pull those things up, let's get them by the roots and drag them to the surface. Excuse me, throat chakra. And see what needs to be worked on. And I use that as part of my mentoring. I use my experience as a counselor, as a mentor, to share those gifts with you and bring those to the light, so you can just turn up your brilliance and shine and rise like the phoenix that you are. Crystals and oils, because I use those in my physical products, so I make essential oil blends that are supportive for your emotional and mental well-being, because that's another passion of mine. And I also make ritual bath salts. So ritual bath salts are made under a moon phase, in alignment with sometimes the astrological happenings, and they're infused with Reiki. So I love oils and crystals. So I've written down some to suggest what crystals and oils to work with to support you expressing your authentic self, and ones that will help you feel safe in doing so, because I really feel like that is an important first step. Would be, let's see, Smokey Quartz, because it is really nice and grounding. It's also uplifting. It feels like it's a light in the dark. I feel like I want to grab my crystals and show you, but this is not show and tell. Rose quartz, because who doesn't love beautiful, heartfelt vibes? It is loving, it is nurturing, it is like a beautiful hug. I have a rose quartz blend called Foxwand, named after my business. It is a healing hug. It heals the heart chakra. It infuses the rose quartz in the essential oil roller. It actually has a rose quartz roller on the top, so you are getting the crystal healing every time you use it. And it is blended for that heart healing, that heart chakra, that just, oh, it's just so beautiful and soothing. It is my absolute favorite blend, which is why it's named after my business. Obsidian is beautiful and grounding. It will also, because it is a volcanic crystal, so it's actually volcanic glass. It's formed when, sorry, bug again. Jeez, interruptions. The volcano, lava explodes and then cools really rapidly. That is when volcanic glass or obsidian is formed. So it does bring things to the surface. So just as an FYI, I know personally I was afraid of using obsidian initially because I was scared of what was going to come up. But what comes up, the unknown, and that fear around the unknown, is only because it's unknown. You don't necessarily know what's on the other side of that door until you open it. So obsidian isn't a scary crystal. It's a beautiful protective crystal. It's great for empaths. It's great for psychic protection. It is in my Obsidian Embrace blend because I created it for empaths. So mixed with a beautiful infusion of not only obsidian crystals but also oils, so you can have that psychic protection, feeling that overwhelm we kind of get as empaths. It helps ground, it helps shield and protect, and just like nice and calm. Blue lace agate is really great for speaking, for the throat chakra. It infuses, it's got the two banded colors to it, so it's got white and blue. So the blue for expressing and emotions and the water kind of aspect, and white for the element of air, which we have a lot of wind going on here today, so I like that. But combining the air and the water, so combining your thoughts, combining logic, and bringing those into being able to express. So it is that beautiful fusion of expressing your emotions and thoughts and using logic, like your brain and your heart, together to express that. What else have we got? Lapis lazuli is beautiful for third eye and crown chakra. So great for connecting to your intuition and learning to trust your intuition, which I think is a big part of the process of letting your authentic self be seen, because it's good to have that connection to trust yourself. When we trust that inner guidance, that inner North Star, we're trusting ourselves. We're listening to our intuition. So we're not only listening, but we're trusting. And lapis lazuli is a beautiful crystal to connect to that third eye wisdom, to connect to the wisdom of the universe. So whatever kind of spirituality you have, whether that's God, whether that's the goddess, whether that's the universe, any kind of spiritual higher power, lapis lazuli is good for that. I also do have a blend for lapis lazuli as well. I only have a few of those left actually in my Etsy shop. I might put all the links in the comments below after the live, or you can jump on my Instagram, Fox Wand Apothecary. You can find it through my website, but I will put the links below at the end. The lapis lazuli one is called Invoke. Again, as I said, it's for third eye chakra, and it's really great for meditating and connecting and trusting to your intuition. Lastly, I have Tiger's Eye. So Tiger's Eye is those beautiful shimmers of gold and brown, and it kind of looks like sunlight in stone, which is actually what it's about. It's grounding, so it's beautiful grounding crystal with the brown tones to it, and that gold shimmery sunshine is that uplifting, it reminds me of the sunshine obviously, but also citrus essential oils, so that uplifting quality. It's great for inner confidence, it's great for awakening your inner power, and I use that one in my ritual oil called Lioness, which is about inner confidence, inner power, all of those things to kind of fire you up and awaken those things that are already in you and help bring them to the surface and activate them. So you're activating your solar plexus, your personal power, your confidence. And 2 essential oils, which I do have, they're in the diffuser off screen here that I put on earlier, for great for speech. So we have lavender, which is for calm. It's the oil of calm and confidence. Calm and confident communication. Wow, that's a mouthful to say. And also spearmint. And spearmint is the oil of confident speech. So both of those together smell so beautiful. But that's just an example of some oils that we might have. Let's quickly pop into and finish off with a mini throat chakra meditation. So take a moment to close your eyes. I'm obviously not going to. Get yourself comfy. And just, because this is super quick and mini, kind of gives you a taste. I do run meditation circles in person here in Wallsend, so not far from where I live. I will be restarting those soon, and you can keep up to date with all that on my social media and my newsletter. I also have, if you love meditation and love a quick reading online, I do have Zoom sessions online once a month on the new moon called New Moon Alchemy. The next is the 5th of November. And that is $25 for, I usually go overtime, so about an hour and a half. So let's quickly take a moment, just being aware of any sounds outside of the room and just letting them go. It's okay to have those busy thoughts. Our mind does chatter. If we just focus for a moment, this is giving yourself permission to focus on yourself, focus inwards. And just slow down your breathing. Focus on breathing in through your nose. And if it's extra helpful, breathe out through your mouth. Just, don't worry about the noise that you make on the out breath. I find that sighing out the breath really does help shift. It helps move any stuck energy, any stagnant energy. It's really great if you're feeling extra stressed too. So breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, just helps release, relax. So focusing on your breath, focusing on just finding that comfortable position to sit in, being aware of any thoughts, letting them go like clouds across the sky, being aware of any noises outside of the room. Again, just clouds floating across the sky. Just observe and let them go. We're going to bring our attention down to the center of our throat, the home of our throat chakra. So every time now we're going to breathe in, we're going to imagine that we're breathing in blue light, the color blue, down into our throat chakra. And every breath out, we're letting go of what no longer serves you. You might feel or think any thoughts when you're breathing out and letting go. We're not going to hold on to them. We're not going to give any judgment. Just going to allow, breathing in that blue, letting it fill up your throat chakra. Knowing that it is safe to be heard. That when you speak, your voice matters. You might like to repeat some affirmations just silently in your head as you continue allowing that beautiful blue color, that beautiful blue light, to fill up your throat chakra. You might like to see it spiraling round, cleansing your chakra, opening it up. It is safe for you to be heard. It is safe for me to be heard. It is safe for me to express myself. My desires are worthy of being heard. Everything I say has value and worth. I speak confidently. I speak confidently and clearly, expressing my desires. My voice is needed in this world. The more I express myself, the more I bring into reality the things that I desire. Take a moment and let those affirmations just sink in. You might want to journal on those later. And for now, come back to that light, that color blue in your throat chakra. It may be cooling, it may be warmth. Just notice the color or even sensation of how that feels, opening up and clearing your throat chakra. We'll bring our attention back to our breathing again. And as that blue light, that blue color begins to slowly fade, just bring our attention back to breathing in and out. Just at a nice, even pace. Being aware of the seat that you're sitting on, the ground beneath you. Being aware of the sounds outside of the room. Being aware of any sounds inside the room. Focusing on the sensation of the air rushing through the tip of your nose and out as you breathe out. Feeling yourself grounded and centered back in this moment. And when you're ready, open your eyes and come back and join us. You might really feel like you do need to drink a lot of water now, because we have started to activate our throat chakra, so drinking a lot of water helps clear and shift that. And using your essential oils on your throat or just on your collarbones as well is really good. So you might want to do that maybe before you have to speak, maybe just something you start incorporating into your practice as well. So, I think that brings us to the end of our masterclass. I hope you enjoyed watching live on the replay. I will go back and read through your comments. If you do have any questions, pop them into the comments now, and after the live is finished, I'll go back and try and answer them as quickly as I can. I'll also put down my how you can work with me, how you can contact me, because I would love to stay in contact with you if we aren't already in contact. So please engage me through my social media. I am most active on Instagram. Just love the vibe over there, much better. Through my monthly newsletter, through my in-person meditation circles locally, or through my New Moon Alchemy Zoom sessions online, or maybe you even feel called to working on most intimate, it is interesting, but intimate offering, which is my Awaken, I can't even speak properly now. Wow, this is because I can't express myself. Awaken is my 3-month package that I offer for my spiritual mentoring. So it is actually limited at the moment. I only have very limited amount of places for people that I'm currently taking on to work with. So if you do feel called to do that, please get in contact. I'll pop the details below for my social media, for my website and my newsletter. But thank you so much for joining me live or on the replay. It has been an absolute pleasure to hold space with you. I hope you resonated, and I'm sure that you gained some kind of benefit from today, because it's been a wonderful joy to share this space with you. So thank you very much, and I hope to connect with you again soon. Thank you.